Hi all, today we are going to learn the poem The Body Politic, which is written by Hiromi Goto, a Japanese-born Canadian immigrant. In this poem, she is telling about the plights and worries and the difficulties of immigration to a Western country. We've already said that the difficulties are being depicted in this poem, and the poet, that is Hiromi Goto, is a Japanese-born woman, and she has immigrated to Canada with her parents at the age of 3. From her early childhood onwards, she was living in Canada, but the difficulty is that her appearance, her body, and here she is telling the body politic is the politics regarding the body. And we know that the body or the physical appearance is always symbolizes one's culture. Even though she is living in Canada from her early childhood, that is from the age of 3 onwards, she cannot change her appearance, she cannot change her body, and that resembles her culture too. Everyone identifies her as a Japanese or a Mongolian birth, and they are, that is, the Canadian people are not at all receiving her or not at all allowing her to become a Canadian. So, in this poem, she is telling about her plights as a Canadian immigrant, that is, an immigrant from Japan to Canada. And she feels a lot of racial discrimination due to her physical appearance. And all these things are being depicted in this poem with very much artistically by the poet Hiromi Goto. Here, the poet is telling that she is always branded as the other by the Canadian people. They are not at all ready to accept her as a Canadian citizen. Here, and her physical appearance itself is something that of other, and she is not at all a group, that is, she not at all belonging to the group of Canadians, and she is always branded as the other by the Canadian people. And the whites find fault with everything that is not white. And here she is telling that everything is related to color, and they are not at all ready, that is, the whites are not at all ready to accept the non-white people or the colored people. And among the poet herself is telling that among the white people, she feels that she is very much colored. Very much colored means non-white people are known as colored people, like the Mongolians, Indians, and Africans, they are known as, or they are classified as colored people. And she feels that she is the other, that is, she is not at all belonging to the Canadian group because of her body, because of her appearance, and because of her eyes, etc. And the Canadian people are also not at all ready to accept her as a Canadian and condemned as inferior to the white, and she has felt a kind of inferiority complex while she is among the whites because of her identity or because of her physical appearance. And she that is the actually the whites are making her so much inferior by asking about her culture and by asking about her dressing style. And we know that she was living in Canada, and she used to dress like the Canadians, and the Canadians are not at all ready to accept her as a Canadian. That is why they frequently ask her to dress the Japanese traditional dress like a kimono. Kimono is the kind of a Japanese traditional dress, and they used to ask her to wear such traditional Japanese dresses instead of jeans and t-shirt, etc. And they used to ask her recite some haiku. Haiku is very special to the Japanese. Haiku is very famous, and they used to ask her to pronounce haiku for them. And they used to, that is, the Canadian people used to ask her about Zen and Buddhism, the religions that are very much prevailed or very much popular in in Japan. And uh, even though she is not at all a believer of Buddhism, these people, that is these Canadian people, are frequently asking about Buddhism and Zen religion to her and making much more conscious of her own identity. Feels that they are making her much more conscious of her identity, much more conscious of her non-white identity. Okay, and she can change her features and her color. And by hearing all these things, what will be the feeling of our poet Hiromi Goto? And she feels that she wanted to peel off her skin because it's not white, it's colored. That is why she wants to change her identity, her physical appearance, her body itself. She wanted to make or wanted to change her body, and this makes her much more inferior. So here the poet is telling that, and she is very much angry with the white people. She is telling that white is not a color. That is why they are calling others as colored people. Non-white people are classified as colored people. It is because the whites are colorless people. And they are very much conscious about others' appearance or others' tradition, and they are not at all concentrating upon their own identity. And she also highlights how people who do not fit into the category branded as the other. So here, uh, there is the Canadian people are branding these Mongolian types or the Japanese immigrants as the other. That is, they are a different kind of people. And the people who belong to this group, that is the other, are not at all so much comfortable because they are categorized or they are secluded or marginalized from the mainstream society. So anyway, here the poet is telling about her identity crisis in Canada, and she used to dress according to, that is a, it is a common thing or common belief or common understanding that she should, that is one should have to dress according to their own tradition. And that is this people, that is this lady Hiromi Goto is not at all ready to dress in dress as a Japanese, typical traditional Japanese woman in Canada. But the others, that is the Canadian people, are not at all ready to accept her as a Canadian citizen. And she says that she can change her features and her culture. Her culture is very much inborn and inbuilt with her body, and she cannot change it. And they are part of her, and they go with her whatever she goes at all time. She dresses with culture every morning and eats her culture for breakfast. She bakes it for lunch and eats it for dinner. Then she bathes in it. Culture is her sleeping partner at night. Anyway, she is not at all ready to change her identity as a Japanese, even in Canada. That is why she is telling all these things. That is, she always wanted to clench or to hold tightly her culture, because she is very much proud as a Japanese woman or a Japanese heredity. And here, the poet is generalizing the plights of the immigrants in Canada or in any other Western countries regarding their culture or regarding their physical appearance. They have to face a lot of problems. Anyway, thank you. And then read the poem at first. Then you will understand what is meant by the poem, or what is meant by the body politic. Okay, thank you.